This is the third of 4 CueBalance tutorial videos. This video shows how to create several cue files to be used as a template file for various types of cues. For a detailed description of the various features of CueBalance, refer to the Windows help file supplied with the program. In the first video, we changed the cue starting defaults to the settings in this video. The default starting cue is a wrapless 3-piece butt cue. The first thing we will do is save these settings to a template cue file. This is done by clicking on the File menu, then clicking on the Save Cue As menu item. The Save Cue dialog opens up to the CueBalance folder that was created under the Windows Users folder during the program installation. So let's name this file. We will call this file Wrapless 3-piece and then hit the Save button. Now we have a permanent cue file that is dedicated to a specific butt type. Anytime we ever need to configure a wrapless 3-piece butt, we will go to the File menu and then click on Open Saved Cue, select the file, and then click the Open button. So let's create another template file. Since what we just saved was for a wrapless 3-piece butt, a linen wrapped cue might be a good choice for the next one. What would be the differences? For a wrapless cue, you might use some laminated maple stock. That probably would not be cored, so let's change the coring drop-down to not cored. Next, we need to change the density. Let's assume with the extra weight from the glue, the density of laminated maple is 51. Obviously, we need to change the wrap selection drop-down to linen. We will set the channel length to match the handle, 11.25 inches. Sometimes the length of the wrap will not be identical to the length of the handle, depending on whether the rings are located in the handle or not. The location where the wrap starts should also be checked against the location of any ring work to make sure the wrap doesn't cover up any rings. For this video, we will ignore the rings and set the location of the wrap to 4.75 inches, which is the sum of the butt cap and butt sleeve lengths. Lastly, let's assume with a laminated handle and a heavy forearm, you typically install a small headless weight bolt at the rear of the cue for balance purposes. A 1-inch long 3/8 headless weight bolt from Atlas weighs 0.34 ounces. So let's configure this in the second weight bolt slot. We first must check the second slot so it is included in the calculations. Then we change the weight to 0.34, the length to 1.0, and the location to 0.5 inches within the cue so we can still screw our threaded bumper into the threaded rear cavity. Now that we have finished making a few changes, we need to save our changes to a new file by going to the File menu. The last cue we loaded was our wrapless cue, so if we click on Save, we will overwrite that file. We don't want to do that. So we will click on Save Cue As in order to create a new file. We will call this one Linen 3-piece and click the Save button. Let's create one last template file. We will make this a wrapless 1-piece butt with sleeve. For starters, we should go back to our wrapless cue. So click on the File menu, then Open, then double-click on our wrapless 3-piece butt. To change the cue to a 1-piece butt with sleeve, select that option from the Construction Type drop-down. Notice that the entire forearm section is now turned off. Next, we might like to have a long decorative sleeve for these cues. Let's change the butt sleeve length to 4.5 inches. Now we need to add 11 inches to the handle length to make up for what was lost when the forearm section was turned off. There might be other changes we would make for this type of cue, but for now that should be enough. Once again, click on the File menu, then Save Cue As, and we will call this cue 1-piece with sleeve. Now we have created 3 different files for 3 different types of cues we might build. We can get as detailed as we want with creating these files. A file could be saved for cues with a hoppy ring and polished chrome weight bolt configuration. A file could be saved for Sneaky Pete's made from full spliced blanks. We could have a file specifically for jump break cues. The more files the user creates to accommodate the different types of cues he might build, the quicker and easier it is to use the program when a specific cue is being built. Every time a cue is designed, select the closest match and spend much less time configuring each build than you would if you had to do each one from scratch. That concludes this video. In the next video, we will use the program to help select specific woods and make construction decisions to target a specific weight and balance point for a particular custom cue order.